Shalom, one and all. Blessings in the name of Yeshua, our Messiah. So, what are we doing here today? Well, first of all, I just want to welcome you to our humble home and say that I have a treat for you. So, many people have been asking me for my recipe for what I do for lamb traditionally for Passover, usually. But you can do it anytime, and you can also apply it to other things if you wish. But several people have been asking me for this, and I figured, it's high time I go ahead and brush up on a little bit of, practicing some videography, and figured I'd go ahead and get this done. So if you're one of those people, thank you for watching. Please feel free to put your comments below. And I'm sorry that we are on Thursday night, just before Passover, and I'm just now have the time to get to this, so I apologize for that. But with no further ado, I just want to give a couple of real quick shout outs, and I would be remiss if I didn't start with Yeshua. Thank you, Yeshua HaMashiach, for blessing us, sustaining us, and bringing us to this day and this time and season where we are preparing our hearts, preparing our homes for your Moedim, in this case, Lord, your Passover. And we just thank you so much. I also want to give a quick shout out to Monty Judah and Lion and Lamb. He also kind of influenced this recipe to a small degree. Give a shout out to Lex Meyer and Grafted Church. And I also want to give a shout out to Billy Carter of Carter Family Construction, who is a good friend of mine from Grafted, who graciously took the time to go get some fresh lamb and gave me the opportunity to go on his farm and not only slaughter but butcher and prepare fresh lamb for this Passover season. So thank you, Billy. I also want to give a quick shout out to Norma Smith. God rest her soul. I originally got the basis for this recipe from her many years ago for Passover, and it was so good. I've just stuck with it ever since. I don't know about you guys, but I'm a little bit of a sweet guy, and I love savory herbs, and I love robust flavor, but I also have just a little bit of a sweet tooth. And last but not least, I want to give a quick shout out to my wife, Brandy DeFore, who is always very supportive, and I don't know what I would do without her. And speaking to that, you're probably wondering, Aaron, what do you have on? And so this here is my brand new handmade, custom made leather apron that Brady custom ordered for me for my birthday this year. And so, as you can see, he custom did my name. Got a couple of, it's set up basically for carpentry. I got a couple of pockets in here that I can work with, and I just wanted to show that off real quick and say thank you, Brandy. I appreciate it. So, let's get down to business, shall we? All right. Thank you for bearing with me. So, I'm new to videography, so forgive me as I learn as we go here. So, what we're doing here again is a recipe for a sweet, savory Passover lamb marinade. In which case, I'm going to show you how to do the marinade and put it all together, and then we're going to go ahead and put the lamb in there, and we're going to go ahead and let it marinate overnight or 24 hours. So that way it's ready to grill. So, first and foremost, I would be remiss if I did not say that a clean and tidy kitchen is a happy kitchen. So, everything has been cleaned. even the knives, all the utensils, cutting boards, bowls, everything I'm using. I always was taught by my good mother to wash everything. So even if it came out of the cabinet, I wash it all again. So first and foremost, let's go over the ingredients just real quick. So what I have here is 4 cups of Kikkoman teriyaki marinade sauce. Now, the only reason I'm using Kikkoman tonight is because we searched high and low and could not find my traditional marinade that I use for this, which is Yoshida's marinade. Yoshida. And Brandy did find some online and ordered it, but it didn't get here in time for us to do this tonight. So we're going to go ahead and you can use any teriyaki marinade sauce as a base to get started. That's totally up to you guys. Next, we have in the back, we have a whole chopped onion. And as you notice, I did it kind of in large chunks. And if you're asking yourself, well, now, why did he do it that large? I'm glad you asked, because that's going to come in handy later for when we actually grill the meat. I'm going to put this in the marinade. It's going to marinate overnight. But the last few moments while the meat is on the grill, you're going to pull these out of the marinade that you reserve, and you're going to add them to the grill, and they're going to caramelize and melt in your mouth. So that's why we cut them a little bit large. We have 1.5 cups of dark brown sugar. We have roughly 1/4 cup of freshly, finely chopped parsley. We have a little bit of basil. We have 2 tablespoons of minced garlic. I saved a little bit of parsley for garnish for later. And if you don't know what this is called a pestle and mortar. And basically, it's used to ground up grains and or herbs into a fine powder. So what I have here is rosemary. And rosemary, if you didn't know, is an absolute staple herb when it comes to lamb in most traditional households. Whether you're Greek or Jewish, or it doesn't matter, rosemary is great with lamb. The problem with it is, though, as you can see, it's long and grainy. And when you just apply that to a roast or whatever cut of meat that you're doing, and you leave it whole like that, it really kind of tends to stick in your teeth, and it's kind of really irritating. It's kind of embarrassing when your guests have to ask you for toothpicks and stuff. So we go ahead and grind it up in the pestle and mortar. And the added benefit of doing that is that when you freshly grind it up like that, it helps to release more of the flavor, so it gives you a little bit more robust flavor. All right, here, yes, we do have fresh onion, but I like to add a little bit of dried minced onion. We have a little bit of pink Himalayan salt. Sorry about that. We have toasted sesame oil, white wine vinegar, white cooking wine. Now, on those 2 items, you can use either or. In this case, I'm going to use mostly white wine vinegar because the vinegar is going to help break down the meat a little bit and make it a little bit more tender. And the cooking wine, I'm just going to use a dash of it for, added flavor. And then I'm going to go ahead and use just a little bit of roasted garlic and herb seasoning just to kind of do it up a little bit. Now, if you're a little bit more traditional, especially those of us who are either Greek or like Greek food, this seasoning here is a staple item in a lot of households. And I'm not going to use it tonight, but I just wanted to show you that that's a secondary option if you didn't want to do your own fresh basil and fresh parsley, or freshly ground rosemary. So, And then, one other thing that I'm not going to do, but some people like to do, is add in a little bit of crushed red peppers for a little bit of heat. Some people will also use sriracha. I'm not a big fan of that. And for the sake of my wife, I'm not going to make it hot. So if you do like things a little spicy, you can add these. But this recipe is primarily for a little bit on the sweet side. So let's go ahead and get started here. You want to make sure that whatever mixing bowl that you're using, that you have some kind of container to marinate in. In this case, I have a large enough bowl. I'm going to go ahead, mix all my ingredients together in the mixing bowl, and then we have a handy dandy lid that fits on their airtight seal, and so that will go in the fridge later. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead, start with our marinade base, get that in there. And what I like to do is go ahead and put your brown sugar in. Now, on a side note, if you don't like things super sweet, you can reduce the recipe down to just a cup of dark brown sugar. But in this case, I'm going to go ahead and do a cup and a half. So I'm going to add that in. And we'll go ahead and add in some of our basil. Now, typically what I do with a lot of seasonings is I'm kind of a add as you go kind of guy and taste it. And so it's best to start with a little and increase as you need it instead of start with a lot and then have too much. You can go with too much herbs. So in this case, I'm going to go ahead and get the sugar to break down and dissolve a little bit. So we're just going to mix it up here. And then we're going to go ahead and add in our garlic. And we're going to go ahead and add in the rest of our herbs. Again, a lot of this seasoning is a little bit of trial and error. Over the years, you just kind of get used to what suits your palate and how much to use of what. Because there's no measurement system to that. So, like I said, you just add a little here and there and kind of taste as you go and then go from there. So, we're going to add a little bit of pink Himalayan salt. The reason I use pink Himalayan salt is it does still have some minerals in it. It's better for you than regular table salt in that regard. And it tastes better. So some people might say, well, that kind of seems a little bit, counterintuitive to add salt if you've already had, dark brown sugar. Well, believe it or not, cooking is a fine art, and salt is a major component in most things, in most dishes. So we're going to go ahead and give that another quick stir. And we're going to go ahead and go to our, let's do the white wine vinegar and everything first. Sorry about that. So in this case, I'm going to just use about a quarter cup because we have 4 cups of marinade. And like I said, the vinegar is going to help break down that meat and make it a little bit tender. I'm going to add a dash of white cooking wine. we're going to go with 2 tablespoons of toasted sesame oil. And then a little bit of minced onions. Now, at this point, we're going to go ahead and taste it and give it a little, see if we need to add a little something extra. All right. So definitely taste that sesame seed oil, but also taste the sugar. Now, the key here is, even though I put a cup and a half of sugar in, and I tend to favor things a little on the sweet side, believe it or not, with the other herbs and the salt and everything that's in there, it's not overly sweet, I promise you. But the good thing about that dark brown sugar is, as it cooks on the grill, it's going to give you a nice caramelization. And believe you me, it is delicious. Now, so what we're going to go and do at this point is go ahead and add in all of our onion. And we're going to go ahead and add in our parsley. Now, on a side note, as an alternative to some of these herbs, I have in the past used a little bit of spicy mustard, and gives a little bit different twist, but for my Passover, I don't like to do that. So let's go ahead and bring you over here and see what that looks like. All right, didn't that look delicious? Now, here is the real treat. So we have a rack of lamb, and then we actually have some ribs. Again, this is compliments of Billy Carter, who was gracious enough to go get some fresh live lambs, and I was thrilled to be a part of, you know, that process and preparing all that. And I will say, sorry about that, folks. I'm practicing on videography here. I would like to say real quick, being a part of the slaughtering and the butchering process of the lamb, I started last year. Now, I have to make a key crucial note that every Passover after the first one, when the children of Israel actually left Egypt, that's a memorial Passover. And since we don't currently have a priesthood in place, we don't have the temple or the altar in place, we don't do actual sacrifices. Okay, so when you prepare your Passover lamb, just know it is not a sacrifice. And because we don't have those other elements in place, if you treat it like a sacrifice, you're in danger of sacrificing the demons, according to the Word of God. But I will say that the whole slaughtering process and preparing of the lamb is really, really humbling. Because once you lay your hand on that lamb, and that is to say, to actually take its life, and you have to hold it down and let it kind of bleed out. We did it in a kosher, humane way, in which we didn't cut the jugular so they didn't suffocate or anything like that. We just laid down on the ground with them, kind of on top of them, keep them still, and they bled out. And it was the most humane way to do it. And we did drain all the blood and do it properly. So I just want to make that side note. And so I'm just excited that we actually have some fresh lamb. I know where it came from, and as opposed to some store where you don't really know where your meats are coming from. So bear with me. All right. So what we're going to go ahead and do now is go ahead and put our rack of lamb into the marinade. And I want to make sure that I get the marinade all over the rack of lamb. Now, you might be asking yourself, how come you're not going to go ahead and slice it up? I'm glad you asked. The reason I'm not separating it now is because in the marinade process, I'm just getting the whole thing to marinate. Right before I put it on the grill, I will go ahead, slice it into what is known as the chops, and then grill it that way. And what I'm going to do is I'll pull it out of the marinade and kind of let it drip a little bit and start cooking it. And about halfway through the cooking process, I'm going to go ahead and, based on more of the marinade, which at that point we'll go ahead and start caramelizing. I don't want too much marinade on the meat when it first goes onto the grill, because that marinade could start to burn, and you don't want that burn flavor on you. So you want to let it drip dry a little bit after being in the marinade. Start your cooking process about halfway through or so. Go ahead and base some more on. That's going to keep it nice and moist. Grill it on the grill with open flame. Best way to do it. And then that marinade is going to start to caramelize on the grill, and it's delicious. So in this case, again, I'm going to do the same thing with the ribs, and we'll get that in there. Make sure everything gets covered and everything has a good amount of marinade on it. And then we'll seal it up. So, thank you for watching, folks. I know this might have been a little bit of a long video. I hope and pray that it uploads properly. I'm going to try to do it on Facebook and YouTube. And so I appreciate any of your thoughts and comments in the comment section below. Let me know what you think. And please, definitely, if you tried this recipe, let me know what you think of it. Let me know how it works out for you, because we love it. And this is not to toot my own horn, but I have yet to have anybody that I've used this recipe to cook for who has ever not liked it. So, thank you again for watching. Lord bless you. And remember to put Yeshua first in all things that you do. Shalom.